Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Today is Wednesday, September 6th, and we are here in the Board of Larimer County Commissioners Conference Room on the second floor at our Larimer County Administrative Services Building in Fort Collins, and we're here for a work session today from about our 2019-2020 to 2023 strategic plan update. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad-McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, and I welcome you today to our meeting. I'm joined by my colleagues, Larimer County Commissioner John Kafalis and Larimer County Commissioner Kristen Stevens. Also joining us at the table today is our County Manager, Lorinda Volker, and our Assistant County Manager, Lori Kadrich, and our Director of Performance, Budget, and Strategy, Josh Fudge. And we are looking forward to hearing the updates, and I will just turn this over to you, Josh, because I think you're kind of leading this conversation. And thank you for the work you do, and I'm looking forward to hearing the update. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner. So today's agenda, we'll just walk through each of the three goals in order with the goal stewards, although I am pinch hitting for the goal steward for Goal 3, Bridget Parrish. She's out of the office today. Some lessons learned after that, and then just on to the next steps as we wrap up this plan. So with that, I will turn it over to the goal steward for Goal 1, adequate public infrastructure, and Lori Kadrich.
Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to mention that the executive sponsor for strategic goal number 1 is Commissioner Shad-McNally. And so we've been working together the last year or so on these goals. And our first goal is on Regional Transportation Task Force. And as of today, that goal has been completed. And so there is no new update from last quarter to this quarter on that particular goal. And on the solid waste infrastructure master plan, there is an update on this goal. And as of September 5th, Larimer County terminated the contract negotiations with Republic Services that we had been ongoing for nearly a year. And we anticipate that we will now be building a new landfill and a modified, smaller transfer station ourselves as a county, and we're beginning the planning of that work. Now, not beginning the planning, we're beginning to plan for that transition because much work has already been completed in terms of design and permitting for both. And then on Objective 3, subdivision streets, we've had some good news in this area. We've hired consulting attorneys to take a look at whether or not a master public improvement district could be done for the county. We're getting some positive traction for that, so our team is working on different options that would look at different mill levy thresholds for new subdivisions. And so we're also looking at legislative changes to any barriers for creating the master PIDs, public improvement districts for existing subdivisions. And then if successful, we might have a solution for older subdivisions as well. And so the team is still working with the legal consultants on options for that street reconstruction. And then on another portion of Objective 3 deals with broadband. And I would say at this point, the main focus of the broadband work is to submit applications for grant funding for the next phases of projects that are eligible for the grant funding within the state for rural projects. And I think the board has recognized the good work of Mark Pfaffinger and his team in this space and the great partnerships that we have with our sister cities in terms of Estes Park, Loveland, and Fort Collins that are all working jointly with the county to get expanded services into rural areas.
May I mention, Lori, may I interrupt you just a second, mention our other partner, the Poudre Valley REA, who's been a really important partner.
Yes.
And the formation of our, we've been pushing for a long time to have a name for our partnership, which is the NOCO Community Fiber Alliance, which you can find that as NOCO Fiber .org, I believe, on the internet. But I think that partnership has won a national award recently at a conference, and so really grateful for our partnership with all of our partners because we have certainly expanded. And so wanted to mention Poudre Valley REA, because were doing that. I think we're currently under construction, the line that's going from up to Red Feathers along their poles. So thank you sorry to interrupt you, but I thought maybe
Oh, it's-
one last partner, so.
Yes, I appreciate that reminder. Thank you. Okay, then the next objective is on long-term water and wastewater treatment infrastructure in unincorporated areas. And of course, we're underway with the Water Master Plan. Right now, we're in the beginning stages of that work. The stakeholder teams are beginning to be formed or recommended. So there'll be more to come on that work, and that work will continue through the next year. And then on the next objective,
I think that's it.
excellent. I did want to give an update, if I might, on the B dams, because that is another part of our goal area, and one that we have recently completed draft IGAs with our partners. I'm sure the board remembers our recent meeting with the town of Wellington, and so we're hoping that we will get those IGAs approved in the near future, and then we can begin the work for the emergency notification system. Another update I had was on the flood-related hazards, and I have good news there because the work of the county's early flood warning system has proved very effective this season, and the rain gauges are working very well in the Cameron Peak area to help warn residents and get our emergency operations systems going. In addition, we received monies for additional gauges that will be installed as well, and we're applying for a $1 million grant application to expand the system. And with that, I would conclude my report.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate that, and it's been really fantastic work with you to kind of shepherd or champion this goal forward, and appreciate all the things that we've gotten done, and it sounds like we've pretty much accomplished everything in that goal. So, if I'm understanding right, so colleagues, do you have any questions for Lori at this point, or for Josh? Great. Well, thank you, Lori. I want to just thank everybody on the team. All the people that were objective leaders and everyone that worked on this goal. It should be a lot of proud things to be proud of, and just appreciate their focus and there was a lot of work and a lot of outreach. There was a lot of teams that went to all the regional transportation conversations, took a lot of time, and going around to all the city municipalities and their boards, and the solid waste has been a lot of work as well. And I just wanted to compliment and commend and thank them all for their hard work and efforts. And I know they're always working above and beyond duties as assigned, and I just want to express my gratitude. So,
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you.
Next is Goal 2, which is access to economic opportunities and vibrant quality of life. And for that, I will turn it over to that goal steward, Laura Walker.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Laura Walker, the Human and Economic Health Director for the county, and I've also served as the goal steward for this area, along with wonderful executive sponsorship from Commissioner Kafalis for this area. Thank you, sir. So I don't have a lot of new information for you since our last update, but I did want to give you just a few highlights on each of the objectives. So Objective 1 is the County Resiliency and Wellbeing Dashboard that was created through this objective team. And so the dashboard is live. It's gotten quite a bit of usage. It was very well received with the community launch that was done in the spring of this year, actually February. My spring came a little early in 2023, I guess. So at this point, my last step for 2023 with this group, I am going to convene everybody who's been involved with this project sometime in fourth quarter of this year to ensure that we have covered all the bases of the original intent for this objective, as well as make sure that the transition of the ownership of this tool fully and completely over to the Department of Public Health and Environment is well-positioned to happen smoothly, that they have the resources required to do that. And one other note, just because it came up in another setting with actually Commissioner Shattuck McNally the other day, we are making sure as much as possible to not duplicate efforts across the county when it comes to this kind of public-facing information. And so we are going to be integrating the prior standalone behavioral health services dashboard, which a lot of the information has already been being tracked by our public health folks anyway. When you look at that syndromic data that is available from our hospital systems for things like emergency room visits and the mental health types of issues that are the primary concerns when people are visiting our hospital systems. So we are working towards a data sharing agreement. We have a draft of that between the Behavioral Health Services Department, and Taylor Kelly is working with Dr. Jared Olson over at Public Health to make sure that that is solidified so that all the information that was previously available on the behavioral health dashboard is integrated into this other one. And we will also make sure that there is good direction from the behavioral health website for folks that were used to that dashboard living there, to direct them over to the public health site in a very seamless way is my hope.
If I might ask a question, since we're at that point, Laura, and I'm glad you updated us on that. I know it's really important for me. As I said, I was trying to share some of that information at the opioid abatement state conference. So when I do go to the website and I don't know if this can be done or if this is just how it is, because I know technology, sometimes we think it's easier to get what we wanted to do than it is. But if it's going to go to the behavioral health website where it was and having those two, I think there was two main areas, there was suicides and then overdoses. So when it goes to that website and they're looking at the behavioral health site, will they have to just go to the whole community health dashboard and then try to find it, or will it be able to go right to that page first and then they can go through the rest of the dashboard? Am I making
your
clear?
question makes absolute sense. And so my understanding, but I'll double check it and make sure that this is the case, is that there are 8 different categories of data that currently live in that well-being and resiliency dashboard, and behavioral health specifically is its own category. And so my understanding is that you would go land there, and those 2 pieces of data and specifics that you just talked about would be available there in addition to some other data that's already being collected. So there would be more than just the 2 topic areas, but they would all be on that behavioral health landing place.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate that update. And it makes sense to have it all under one kind of dashboard umbrella, but it would be, I know if folks are looking for that data and have to go and try to figure out the rest of the dashboard, I would find it frustrating for me. But I just wanted to make sure, and I think it's fantastic we have this kind of data. I know a lot of other local governments don't have this kind of data at people's fingertips, and so I just want to say thank you. And I know there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work. When it gets up there, it seems so simple and easy, but I know there's just a lot of work behind the scenes. So I thank you for answering my question and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and if there is anything contrary to what I am assuming happens, I'll make sure that we look into potentially fixing that and let you know if there's a different way to do it. But
Thank you.
So on to Objective 2, increasing the employment of persons with disabilities was the original philosophy behind this objective. And we have a very successful implementation at this point of the Inclusion Advisory Committee that is internal to the county, but is advising human resources and management on ensuring that our workforce has the capability and the invitation to people with different levels of abilities and different skill sets to come and do productive, meaningful work for the county. And also ensuring that our current employees are looking at different issues of culture and inclusion within work teams and making sure that our policies align with the philosophies and the values that we have of an inclusive workforce and a beneficial place to work for everybody. So that, beyond the end of the strategic plan cycle, that committee will continue under Nicole Berg out of the HR department. And then we were very excited for our Human and Economic Health quarterly update work session to the board not too long ago. We were able to introduce our new employee in the Economic and Workforce Development Department. Her role is specifically dedicated to assisting people who have disabilities who wish to enter the workforce or to upskill or change their direction in the workforce. And she is very new on the job, but I know that Blake has the background and experience and also the connections with our state partners and other community entities that work with folks with these issues. So I'm looking forward to being able to come back to the board soon with some of the outcomes of that position's work and moving it forward so that other employers in our community can start enhancing what they do to offer those kinds of opportunities like Larimer County, I believe, has over the time of this last 5 years. So, any other things on that objective? Okay. Quality childcare, as we know, this is a very heavy lift. This was a very aggressive objective, but a very well-deserving objective to have for the county. But at this point, we did select the Early Childhood Council of Larimer County for the RFP that was put out to engage a community partner in creating a memorandum of understanding that would have the county give allowance to that entity to be the lead agency for a potential 2024 ballot initiative, similar to the one that was proposed for last year and was delayed this year just due to the timing and not having enough really runway to do a very diligent campaign with the community to educate them before something shows up on their ballot. And so the negotiations for that memorandum of understanding are beginning in about 2 weeks, I believe. I know it's before the end of September. And so we will be working diligently towards that so that we have plenty of runway for 2024 if that ballot initiative will move forward and be brought to the Board of County Commissioners for consideration to refer to the ballot. But hopefully this will put us in a good space of knowing what we would want to spend those funds on, what kinds of impacts we would expect for the community out of that investment, and really having that agency feel empowered to take the initiative forward and do the proper community education and marketing to make sure that people understand the issue at hand. And then objective 4, we had come forward as part of the 2024 budget proposal process with some specific requests for funding of different strategies that this board has been hearing about throughout this 5-year period and has prioritized probably half a dozen, 5 or 6 different strategies that the county might have an impact on housing affordability and homeless mitigation. And so those are still being considered since we're in the midst of the deliberation process still for the budget and it won't be finalized till December. But we are looking forward to those opportunities potentially coming back around. And we also still have, just as a reminder to folks, we still have 6 major affordable housing projects that are either underway already using contributions from this board of their state and local recovery funds out of the ARPA federal monies that we received. They're either underway or committed to and will be completed in the next year to 2 years to really increase the housing stock in particular. So that relates to this topic as well.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, can you remind me where we are with the Prop 123 conversations? I can't remember where. Are we opting in? Are we looking at opting in? Are we still kind of having conversations with our municipal partners?
Thank you for the question. So we had the convening, the regional convening, and we did have representation that was hosted by Larimer County and invited all the municipalities within our boundaries. And we were waiting actually for the city of Fort Collins to see if their opting in proposal was going to be accepted. My understanding is that they had done an initial proposal to the Department of Local Affairs, who is the entity at the state level that decides whether or not a proposal from a local municipality qualifies under the requirements, particularly around the baseline data that would be used to then assess the 3% required annual increase in affordable housing stock as a result of leveraging those Prop 123 funds. And so we were waiting for the city of Fort Collins to get a final answer back on their second attempt, was my understanding. And then Aaliyah Rodriguez in my office, who is our housing stability manager, would be bringing a recommendation, staff recommendation to the board about opting in as the county entity as well.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I couldn't remember where we were at with that, and so I know it's a process. So hopefully the City of Fort Collins baseline will get accepted, and then we can move on. Because I know that dollars are going to be coming out fairly soon. I want to say there's, in November, there's an opportunity for funding for land banking for the
Yes,
first round.
And
so-
Aaliyah's aware of those deadlines, and we'll make sure that she gives the board an opportunity prior to any funds being released or made available, so that you can make that decision in a timely way. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously might be good since we might not have other dollars if, we're doing the, belt tightening and depending on how HH works. But if we have dollars that we can access, that might be good. So,
I'll check in with her and
Thank you.
and we'll get back to the board.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Laura. Okay, Josh?
So the third goal is Operation Evolution. The executive sponsor is Commissioner Kristen Stevens, and the goal steward is our Director of Human Resources, Bridget Paris. And so, as I mentioned, I'll be filling in for her today. This goal, all of the objectives basically under this goal are completed. And so Bridget's team did create kind of a closeout document or presentation that I've provided to you in a hard copy. We'll get that up on our strategic planning website as well. And so I'll just walk through the results of those objectives. As I understand it, there's really no update from the last time she presented on these, so I'll move kind of quickly. But if there are any questions, certainly let me know. The first is related, Objective 1, to staff workspaces, optimizing facility space, and funding high-priority facilities. This objective is complete and operational. During this objective, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic really changed a lot of the way the county workforce works and as far as physical space goes. And so we have made a transition to more remote work and new standards and things of that nature. Funding for many of the high-priority facilities has been identified, with the exceptions being the Justice Center and the Sheriff's Emergency Services Building. And so we will continue to work on funding those as well. Objective 2, workforce characteristics, is complete and operational. The 3 characteristics have been identified, and they are adaptable, collaborative, and inclusive. And those are now included on all employee recognition, training, evaluations, etc. Pardon the phone call. No questions on that one. Objective 3, service adaptation. This objective is complete and operational. There were service delivery improvements in all 5 service areas. There was the change to the name of this building to make it a little less confusing for the public. The transportation options to Longview, an internal communications plan, an online fare registration and payment system, and a victim rights and resources webpage. So in all 5 service areas, those projects were completed. Objective 4, county data, policy, and strategy, the one with which I'm probably most familiar. This is complete and operational. The data function has been consolidated in the new performance budget and strategy department. And that policy related to data is currently under review. Senior Leadership Committee will be reviewing that next week, and then it will go out for employee comment after that. And it was reviewed by SLC last month. A new governance structure is being reviewed by SLC, and that will go into place this fall. And so we are up and running as far as that goes. Finally, Objective 4, county environmental policy, balance natural resources and economic needs and incorporate into county operations. This objective is also complete and operational, primarily with regard to the creation of the Climate Smart program. That is now up and running, and also county policies have been updated to take these items into account. And so with that, excuse me, that is an update on Goal 3 and all of the objectives. Any questions?
Colleagues, have any questions to Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I was the executive sponsor for this goal, and just wanted to thank Bridget Paris, who's not with us, and then all the objective leaders on this goal. I think it's interesting because I think in many ways this work is invisible to residents in our community, yet it goes to providing better service and how we treat our employees and how we give them the tools they need to do their jobs better. And so it may seem, behind the scenes, but it's very crucial to the work that we do every day. And, in fact, I think that our remote work policy is pretty remarkable and has, not only given some flexibility to staff who enjoy that, but also has, reduced greenhouse gas emissions and have less cars on the road that are commuting. And so, in so many cases, I think with all of our strategic plan, that there's carryover into other areas. And so just want to thank the folks who worked on this, and certainly, having, being more data-driven and having, having that be a strong piece of the work that we do is really important. So thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. So Josh, is that your full presentation, or we have more to?
No, so there are just a couple more slides.
Okay.
Sorry. So these are lessons learned thus far, especially from the goal and objective teams under Goal 3. I had a chance to have a nice discussion with Bridget about some of the lessons that her team learned, and apparently I'm popular today on the phone. Sorry about that. And these are especially helpful going into the next iteration of the strategic plan as we put that together. So I just wanted to provide kind of an update on some of those. They suggested that we add buy-in from objective team leaders early by soliciting their input into the deliverables. In some cases, maybe the objective was defined and then an objective team and team leader were chosen, and they didn't have that buy-in that they could actually accomplish those things. And so that's a piece of advice we'll take into account as we develop the new objectives. We'll try to identify that leadership earlier and make sure they're on board. Second was defining roles and responsibilities of goal stewards and objective teams early on. We're starting to work on that in our work sessions on the next version of the strategic plan. We've started talking about changing the structure a little bit and also having my office help be kind of the main support structure for this. And so we'll certainly hopefully accomplish that as well. Recognize participation and leadership. When this plan was first created and the initial strategic plan was created, we didn't have things like Nectar to provide those that appreciation to employees for taking these on. So now we have that. We can certainly augment that to help out and thank people for participating. Also, once this plan is concluded, we'll be hosting an appreciation event. The plan is in January at the ranch. Normalizing shorter timeframes for completion or objective evolution. The basic idea behind this is that if an objective can be completed in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, as opposed to 5, that can be okay. And also, she mentioned that sometimes when an objective maybe wasn't realistic and needed to change, there was some trepidation on the part of goal stewards or objective team leaders to say, we're not sure this can be done. And we want to, at least that's kind of my goal, hopefully, is to say it's okay if something needs to change. Life changes and circumstances change. And so if we need to change an objective, we would certainly look at that and make sure, there's a good reason to do it and be transparent about it. And then finally, clarifying process for requesting and receiving resource support. A lot of these objective teams came up with ideas that perhaps, required budget resources or staff resources, and sometimes it's hard to ask for those types of things, or they're not sure who to ask, especially, a team may not be really related to a single department or elected office, or perhaps the objective team leader's department isn't the right one to make the budget request. That can perhaps be solved by having the budget office now providing some of the administrative help for those objective teams. So we'll become aware of them much sooner and can maybe shepherd them through instead of, a department head who really isn't related to that type of service. So those are the lessons learned thus far that Bridget's team was able to pass on. I think they're really helpful and give me a lot of good ideas, and I think give the core team a lot of good ideas as we create the next plan. So are there any questions on those?
Doesn't seem to.
All right. So finally, last slide. Our final work session on this plan will be on November 1st. And then over the winter into next year, we will plan a wrap-up, create final progress and lesson learned reports. We will determine objectives that may carry over into the next version of the strategic plan. As I mentioned, we'll have an appreciation event for plan participants, and we will incorporate hopefully all of the lessons learned that I just went through, plus more from the other teams, into the next version of the plan. And that is the conclusion of my presentation.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Laura, and thank you, Bridget. Great work, and again, deep heartfelt gratitude and kudos to all the objective leaders and the teams, because this is quite an accomplishment, a lot of work, and again, above and beyond duties as assigned, so want to make note of that. It's really important. But as you can see, there is a lot of innovation and great things have been accomplished, so they should all be very proud and really excited about a lot of the accomplishments here. Lorenda, do you have anything else you wanted to add to this great update and kind of close out of our plans?
Yeah, I think, it's a small multi-page report that really represents 5 years of effort from these teams. When you set lofty goals and you give resources to work on those kind of things, they move forward, sometimes not in the way you expect. We can't always accomplish everything, but we certainly put time in to try our best to get that done. Transportation is a good example. Childcare is another example that will continue to be issues we talk about in the future, but maybe we'll talk about them differently because we've had these conversations and we've started to collaborate in different ways. So there's a lot to be appreciated here. I'm looking forward to the celebration event in January where we can recognize these folks, and also to springboard into that next strategic plan as we work to develop those goals and objectives as well. So again, thank you to the leaders who took these things on, to Josh for taking on the future, and all the objective leaders and team members who helped along the way.
Thank you, Lorenda. Again, just really well done. And I just want to clarify, Josh, you said these are all going up on the website. Will these all be put in the same format, or are they just kind of how will it look on the website?
So this presentation and this closeout document for Goal 3 will go on it's larimer.gov/strategic plan. That's currently sort of focused on the current plan version, and we'll sort of integrate the next strategic plan into that website as well, so that you can see the resources from each of the 3 plans.
Okay, thank you.
That's the web address.
Thank you. Well then, colleagues, if we don't have this end of our presentation, I'd love to give back everybody the gift of time today. So if there's any other questions, or Commissioner Kafalis.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, with that, at 2:03, unless there's other pressing matters, we are adjourned. Thank you, and thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.